Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It is 9 o'clock and welcome to the video that I never really wanted to make, but I've kind of got myself into a situation where I have to. And in this video, I'm going to be explaining my side of the Crystallize Controversy. Now, some of you might not know what I'm talking about, so allow me to enlighten you. But before I do, I just want to give a caveat right at the very beginning. I think Dave Bonsall is a national treasure. I think that Prop Dog is a fantastic shop. I've spent far too much money with them over the years. Their customer service is impeccable. It is a real shame that they're winding down and just focusing on their own products, but it's great that they're going to continue. I think that Dave Bonsall is amazing, and I think Prop Dog is amazing. I think I have to say that because the video that I'm going to make is going to address my side of what happened with Crystallize. And I wouldn't have made this video if it wasn't for the fact that I've had a lot of comeback recently because of posts that were made by Dave on the Magic Cafe. So I feel like I need to address and at least give out my side of things. And that's what I'm going to do. And this is not a rant. This is not an expose. This is just me kind of giving my side of the whole Crystallize thing. Now, if you don't know what Crystallize is a product that I bought out in 2022 with Prop Dog, and it was launched at the Blackpool Magic Convention on their stand. And if you went to Blackpool and you walked into the registration hall, you would have seen a massive TV screen. It's not even a TV screen, it basically takes up the whole wall. And as you walked in, you saw a video playing on loop, a couple of videos, 2 or 3 videos altogether. And one of the videos was the Crystallize trailer, playing over and over again. And it was released at Blackpool. Now, before I explain my side of things, let me just give you a bit of a frame of reference. So, when I came back to the Magic community during the pandemic, I started to release Magic products again. And if you've watched this channel for any length of time, you'll know that I believe that we kind of stand on the shoulders of giants. And there's tricks that came out years ago that I think have been long forgotten. And I believe that those tricks should be remembered, which is why I do the Hidden Gems series on Magic TV. Because of that, part of my, I don't want to call it a strategy, but part of my thing that I wanted to do when I came back to the Magic community was take projects that I thought were really valuable that I released, because not everything I released back in the day was amazing, but I wanted to take the projects that I thought were really valuable and bring them back out, because there's an entire generation of magicians that won't have seen them. And you've probably seen that over 2022. I released Chop at Magic Live with Penguin, which is obviously it was released many years ago, and this was an updated version. Same with Keymaster, which also came out through Penguin. Same with the Mirage coin set, which came out through Alakazam. And even Trivia, if you actually look at Trivia, which came out through Alakazam as well, that's an updated handling of a trick I brought out many years ago called Love Cards. So I wanted to bring out a lot of tricks, or the tricks that I thought were really good, back out again, because I knew there was an entire audience that hadn't seen them before. And the fact that Chop has 2022 Penguin Magic, bestseller, kind of says it all, right? Now, Crystallize was the trick that got away. And what I mean by that is, when I was releasing product the first time round, when I was with World Magic Shop, I spent probably the best part of 3 years trying to make Crystallize come to fruition. And I couldn't. And I tried everything. I had this idea of having a ball go into a salt shaker. I had an idea of taking a ball, taking some salt out of a salt shaker, squeezing it, turning it into a salt ball, taking the salt ball, penetrating into the salt shaker, doing it over and over again. I had all the moves worked out. And at the end, the salt shaker would be solid and the lid would be solid. It's something that I'd always wanted to do. And for 3 years, when I was with World Magic Shop, I had so many meetings with glass blowers, and I remember going to an industrial estate in the middle of Derby once, and these people made salt cellars, and I went so many different ways to try and make this thing. And I felt that the key component to it was the solid salt shaker, and without that, it wouldn't be where I wanted it to be. And I couldn't get it done. Couldn't find anybody to do it. People said it couldn't be done. So when I came back to Magic, and I was kind of thinking of stuff that I wanted to release, I was going through all of my old notebooks, and there were all the notes on Crystallize, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is the one. This is the one that I'd really like to release. This is it. And so I kind of thought, and I'm thinking it's not possible, it can't be done. And things had moved on from when I was working with World Magic Shop, because when I was working with World Magic Shop, I didn't really have a business per se. I was just a gigging magician, and not even a successful gigging magician. So I had all the time in the world to kind of put stuff like this together. That's not the case now. You know, you guys know how busy I am, how many companies I run. I definitely wouldn't have time to put this together myself. And by the way, from a marketing point of view, or a creativity point of view, or releasing product point of view, people ask me, why don't I release my tricks myself? Why do I go through various different companies? The reason I go through various different companies is because I'm busy. Ask anybody who knows me how busy I am. I'm very, very busy. I haven't got the time to go through the process that you need to go through in order to release a product yourself. Could I make a bit more money from it if I did do it myself? Yes. But I'm not money motivated. I don't release product to make money. I do it because the stuff that I bring out, I genuinely think is adding value to the magic community. So it's not really a money thing for me at all in any way, shape or form. And you'll see this moving forward as I talk about Crystallize. But what I am very precious about is my time. And my time would be taken up with research and development and packaging, and then I'd have to organize a way to have them all shipped out and go to the post office and stuff. And unless I've got an infrastructure in place to deal with that, that's never going to happen. And I haven't got an infrastructure to deal with that. Now, maybe one day I will do, probably not, but you never know. However, right now I don't have that infrastructure. So I don't have the time because I'm busy running multiple other companies and going out and performing. I don't have the time to do it myself. So I work with companies because what I like is I like the process of creating. I just need to switch this off. I like the, there you go. I just want to turn this down. I'm so sorry. I don't want to keep it beeping. There we go. I like the process of creating. I like the process of releasing magic. I like the process of marketing it and chatting to magicians and watching magicians talk about, the things I've released and saying that it makes a difference to them and helping them and so on and so forth. That's what I enjoy doing. I don't enjoy the other side of things. Now, some magicians do. There's people like David Jonathan that do that and do that brilliantly. More power to them. I'm not one of those people. So I work with production companies and basically I go to them and I say, hey, this is the idea that I've got. Here's some live performances. Here's a prototype. Tell me what you think. And they'll go, yeah. And I'll go, brilliant. You make it up. I'll film the trailer. I'll film the live performances. I'll film the tutorial. I'll come up with a million ideas for it. I will be on hand to market it. I'll be on hand to, talk about it and make sure that as a creator, I'm out there pushing that out so that people get their questions answered about it. But I don't want to have anything to do with the manufacturing. I don't want to have anything to do with any of that. Different companies are working different ways. With Russ Stevens and Alakazam, it's a buyout. With Penguin and Murphy's, it's a royalty thing. Same with 1914. It is what it is. That's not what's important to me. What's important to me is making sure that I'm protective of my time. So I knew I wouldn't have time to put Crystallize together myself. And I also knew that very few people would be able to do this because I knew how hard it was to put together based on the last time. So I decided to go to PropDog and speak to Dave Bonsall. And I spoke to Dave very early on. It was during the pandemic, obviously. Very early on, I said to him, look, this is the idea. This is what I want to achieve. Is it possible? And he kind of said no. And I was like, okay, fair enough. And I left it. It was like, well, if Dave Bonsall can't do it, no one can do it. This guy is a legend when it comes to prop building. And then he came back to me and he said, actually, I think we can do it. And then the process began, probably over the course of a year, of developing different ways of making this solid bottle, because the other stuff wasn't a problem. He already had a way of doing the salt balls. He already had a way of doing everything else. It was just the solid bottle that became an issue. And there were several different times that he said, I've got it. And then he said, I haven't got it, I've got it, I haven't got it. And at the time when we were working on the stuff, he had a prop builder working in-house at Prop Dog, and then that prop builder left, and that delayed the process a little bit more. And eventually we got to a situation where we thought we'd nailed it, and we thought we'd had it, and everything was great. And I looked at the prop and I was like, yep, that's absolutely perfect, that's brilliant. Now, rewind a little bit. I think we need to rewind slightly. When we agreed to go and do this, I asked him, how does this work? You know, because I never worked with Prop Dog before. You know, I know different companies have different deals. How does this work? I said, you know, I'm happy to be hands-on at the stuff I'm good at. I'm not happy to be hands-on with the stuff I'm not very good at. You know, I don't want to be the guy that's distributing it. And he said, I'm going to give you a couple of options. The first option is we can prototype a working prototype that works brilliantly, that you can then take to a company, or you can do whatever you want with, and we'll charge you for that. Or, you know, we can take it on as a Prop Dog product, and once we've took it on as a Prop Dog product, you know, we'll go 50-50 on the profit, or whatever it is. And I said, Dave, I'm not really money motivated. I'd really like to work with Prop Dog. You know, I came to you because I think this would be the perfect product for Prop Dog to stock. I'm happy to do it that way. And he was like, okay, fantastic. And I said, I tell you what I'll do. I will actually make sure that I organise the trailer and the tutorial. And the reason I said that, and I was very open with Dave at the beginning, I said the reason I do that is because I'm very passionate about people getting the best quality product that they can get. And if you've ever seen a Prop Dog product, it's normally the worst trailer in the world, and the tutorial is shot in the shop, you know, on an iPhone or something like that, and it's not really high produced. And I said, you know, I really want to have a really good trailer. I want to have a really good tutorial, you know, nice logo for the packaging, all this sort of stuff. So I said, I'll leverage some of my friends, and I'll see if I can organize that. So that it just, you know, that's something that I can contribute. That's something I can do. And I've done that with other companies as well. You know, I've organised, you know, I've gone to Alakazam, for example, and they've gone, oh, we're not going to be able to get a live performance of this. And I'm like, yes, we are. I'm going to go down to Smoke and Mirrors, and I'm going to get a live performance. I'm going to go to the House of Secrets. I'm going to get live performances, and I'll film it, and I'll send it back to you, because it's really important to me that we get that. So that's something that I'm happy to do. You know, when I talked about stuff that I'm happy to do and stuff that I'm not happy to do, that's something that I'm happy to do. Anything like that, absolutely fine. So we got to a point where we thought we'd cracked it. And I was like, brilliant. So he'd made a load of them up. And then I had to go to Prop Dog for whatever reason. I can't remember. I was in the area, and I popped into Prop Dog. And I popped in there, and he said, hey, I need to show you something. And he took me down into the warehouse, or into the workshop at the bottom. And he showed me some of the bottles. And there were a couple of little bubbles in the bottles. Not massive, but a couple of little bubbles. There were a couple of, and I said, what's happened? Where have the bubbles come from? And he said, well, it's to do with, you know, we thought that it was absolutely fine. We made them and there's no problems, and they've just sat, and now there's some bubbles that have appeared. And I looked at it and I was like, well, the presentation isn't that you're making a solid, it's not like you're turning the thing solid. The whole idea is that it's a kicker ending, so that at the end it's filled, and there's absolutely no way that it could have been filled. So how is the routine possible? It's a little bit like a solid cup with a chop cup, right? And I was like, well, you know, there's a couple of little bubbles, but it's not an issue. I don't think that's an issue. I think we can work with that. And he said, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, it's not an issue. I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem. It's fine. And I'd had a prototype at that point, and I can't remember the time frame. I think maybe I'd had a prototype and a couple of bubbles had appeared with mine, because I'd been working at him for a while. He'd been sending me prototypes through the post. One of the early prototypes, which I've got over there, worked fine, and there were no bubbles at all, at all. But I don't use that one. I use one that's got a couple of bubbles in it. And I said, look, I've been using it, and there's a couple of bubbles in there, and it's totally not an issue, I think. I mean, it's a long time ago now. I can't remember the exact time frame. But I signed off on the fact that there's a couple of little bubbles. It won't be an issue at all. That might have happened after I'd filmed the tutorial, actually. No, because there were bubbles on the one in the tutorial. Whatever. I then filmed the tutorial, and true to my word, I actually paid Lloyd Barnes to come to Smoke and Mirrors. I arranged with Mark Bennett to allow me to use Smoke and Mirrors to film the tutorial and the explanation. I arranged for Lloyd Barnes to come over from Wales to film the tutorial and the explanation and create a logo for the project. I did all of that. Now, it took a little bit longer than I thought, because initially, when I was going to film the tutorial, unfortunately, Lloyd's dog passed away. And so I had to ring Mark and say, look, we can't come today. I can't do it without Lloyd. Lloyd's not going to be able to come. We're going to have to reschedule it. That was part of the problem, because that pushed everything back. We were planning to film it about 3 or 4 weeks before Blackpool, and then because of various issues that happened, we ended up filming about a week and a half before Blackpool, or maybe about a week and a half before Blackpool. But we managed to get it done, and Lloyd turned it around very, very quickly, which was great. And I managed to get the tutorial sent over to Dave just in time. So it then comes up to Blackpool, and I told Dave that I'd deal on his stand. I didn't say I'd be there the whole time, because I knew I had stuff coming out through Alakazam, and I knew I had stuff coming out, and I had a lecture at Blackpool as well, and I said I'm going to do it in a lecture as well. So I'm going to do it in a lecture, and I'm actually going to be on your stand, and I'm going to perform it on your stand throughout the weekend at some point. I've got my family there. I'm not going to be there the whole time, but I'll be jumping on and off the stand as and when. And Dave was like, yep, okay, cool, no problem, that's absolutely fine. Now, when I got to Blackpool, I didn't know this, but Dave had paid for the trailer that we'd done, because it was a really good trailer, as you can imagine, with Lloyd. David arranged to have the trailer play in reception, which was great. You know, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So people were taking the mick, the whole of Blackpool, going, oh, we've seen your face on the thing. The trailer was just playing constantly, which was really good promotion for Crystallize. Now, I wasn't able to go on the stand anywhere near as much as I hoped, for a few different reasons. Ryland was performing in the gala show, and he was performing his act that he did on the audition of Britain's Got Talent, which involved 16 other magicians, and there's only about 3 or 4 that were there, young magicians. So we had to take people who had never done that act before and teach them how to do the act. And obviously, I was there helping with that. So I was backstage a lot doing that. And then I was helping Killian as well. If anyone saw me at Blackpool getting soaked with a bottle, with a pint of water, that was me helping Killian. I was backstage during most of the gala shows, helping with that. I was also jumping on the Alakazam stand a couple of times, because I had 2 or 3 things out through Alakazam. I had a lecture that I had to prepare for. I had the Magic podcast, and also I had my family at the lecture as well. Now, at the convention as well, and I was getting pulled in a million different directions. I didn't even make it around the dealer hall once. It was like manic. So I didn't get on the stand as much as I could, but I did go on the stand, 3, 4 times. Every time I went on there, I just demmed Crystallize, and yeah, people were really interested, and it did really well. I don't think it did great, because I wasn't there the whole time, and they hadn't watched the tutorial at Prop Dog, so they didn't know how to do it. Although, to be honest, if you just show the props, it sells itself. Even though it was actually quite expensive. That's the other thing, it was quite expensive. Dave asked me, he gave me a figure and said, we're going to have to charge this for it. And I was like, well, look, it's up to you. This is as far as I'm concerned, you know, that's your department, because every single company I work with, they tell me what the fee is. You know, it's not like I go to Alakazam and I say, this is what this should sell at. It's not like I go to Penguin and say, this is the price you should charge. I get told that because I don't know the costs that are involved in it. I know the time it's taken me to come up with that concept, but I don't know the costs that are involved in it. I know that there was no costs to Dave for the production of the trailer or anything like that, because I obviously paid for that out of my own pocket, which I was happy to. But he said that like he'd sunk thousands into creating these Crystallize, and therefore the cost was going to be really high. I can't remember what it was, 150, 160, 170, something like that. I thought that was quite expensive. Realistically, I think if that product had come into review at that price, I would have kind of made a comment about the price of the product. But I've bought a lot of high value, high priced items in the past, so kind of just let it go. I was like, okay, well, look, it's your decision. You know the costs, you know the market, you know what people are prepared to pay. I don't know any of that. As far as I'm concerned, this is your department. I'm just here to help promote it. That's kind of my thing. And then that's it. Now, shortly after Blackpool, I had a lot of people contacting me and saying, hey, I've heard about Crystallize, it's really good, because I put the trailer on my YouTube channel. I've heard about Crystallize, it's really good. Don't really want to order from the UK. Is it available anywhere else? And I was like, no, PropDog don't really wholesale to Murphy's. And even though they've got Murphy's account, they don't wholesale to Murphy's. And I said, and there were a lot of people asking. I was like, oh, I really want it. I wish it was in my local magic shop. So I spoke to Murphy's and I was like, hey, would you be interested in taking Crystallize? And they said, absolutely would be interested, that Dave doesn't really work with us. And I was like, well, okay, well, let me speak to Dave. And I spoke to Dave, I went back to Dave, and he had a load of them left. He hadn't sold as many at Blackpool as he hoped he would. And I think that was a combination of me not being on the stand, them not really knowing what the product was if I wasn't there, and also the price, I think, was a big impact as well. And I said, look, I think you should wholesale it through Murphy's. And Dave said, I don't wholesale through Murphy's, and that's not something I do, and the profit's not in there to wholesale it through Murphy's because they're going to take X%. And this is, again, something that I don't really get into. For me, and I can't stress this enough, it's not a money thing for me. It's not, I don't release product to make a fortune. That's not what I do. I have other ways of making money. I just wanted people to have this product. So I said, look, Dave, as far as I'm concerned, if you want to put it in Murphy's, I don't want to take anything from any of those stock that you put in Murphy's. So if we're going 50-50 and on profits or whatever it is that you said that we were doing, if you want to put it in Murphy's, I don't want to take anything. You can just have the whole profit. So surely that would be, surely the profit margin is there then to be able to put it into Murphy's so that people can get it all around the world. And he said yes, so I went to Murphy's and I was like, look, Dave will do it. Didn't tell them the reason why, they didn't need to know, but I said Dave will do it. And the next thing I know, it pops up in the shops and it's available through Murphy's. So obviously, Dave had done a deal with Murphy's and put it in Murphy's, and yay, great. The next thing that happens is, and there's a thread on the cafe at the same time on the latest and greatest, which is now on about 13 pages. And the thread on the cafe initially started off, oh, this looks great, what's the price? And then when the price came up, people, as they do on the cafe, were like, oh my God, that's really ridiculous, that's expensive. And then some people were saying, well, people can charge what they want. It was back and forth. And then there were issues coming up of the bubbles. And I was very active on the cafe. The thread's still there. If you go look at that 13-page thread, I was very, very active, and I was responding to everybody, as I always do on the Magic Cafe. You know, it's not like I hide, I'm always there, answering people's questions. And people were unhappy about the bubbles. And I was like, oh, they must be talking about the two little bubbles. I did mention this in the tutorial. And then people started showing pictures of the thing, and there were massive bubbles. And I think that what happened is that the salt cellars degraded more rapidly. I don't know, I'm not a prop maker, I have no idea. But those bubbles were a lot bigger than the bubbles that I saw in the warehouse. And they were a lot bigger than the bubbles that I saw on the stand at Blackpool. And they were an issue. Now, at the same time, I also had a phone call from Murphy's. And Murphy's called me. They never call me. I only ever speak to the creative team when I speak to Murphy's, because that's what that's who I work with. I was speaking to the product department and the people that wholesale things in, and they were like, hey, we've got a lot of people that are unhappy with Crystallize. We're coming to you because Dave's not being very helpful. And I was like, oh, right, okay, what's the problem? And they were talking about they were talking about bubbles. And this was before I'd seen the pictures on the cafe. And I was like, look, I did mention this, but maybe I didn't go into enough detail in the tutorial. I'm going to film a separate video for you. I'm going to film you another video right now that you can add into people's files. And this video will explain about the bubbles, why they're not an issue, and how it doesn't affect things. And that day, I put a video, and they were like, oh my gosh, thank you, that'd be absolutely amazing. And I put that video together and I sent it over that day to Murphy's. And they had the video and it explained everything about the bubbles. And And then they called me back, and that's when the photos went on the cafe, and they called me back, and I was like, yeah, I've seen these bubbles. They're pretty big. And Murphy's was saying, hey, there's people not really happy about this. And I'm like, I totally understand, and I don't want people to be unhappy. I'm not too sure what I can do, but I'll do anything you want me to do. If you want me to make a statement, if you want me to say something, whatever. And they were like, hey, we're not really getting anywhere with Dave. And I don't really know what happened there. What I did is I went on the cafe, and if you go on the thread, you can see this. I went on the cafe, and people were calling for my head, as I expected. You know, people were like, oh my God, Craig's conned the community. And I was just keeping really calm. And I was like, look, anybody that's unhappy with Crystallize, I haven't got a Murphy's account. I can't just give you a refund because I've literally made nothing from this product, and I haven't made anything. I never got any money for the ones that sold at Blackpool, or ones that may have sold or not sold in the shop, which I don't think there were many, because I don't even think it went on the site. I'm not sure. Or any money from Murphy. I've made no money from it. I can't give people a refund of $150 when I haven't had any money for it. I can't do that. I mean, if there's 100 people that want a refund, that's going to wipe me out. I'm happy to not make money out of this, but I don't want to make a ridiculous loss. That's not business sense. So I went on the cafe, and Prop Dog were completely incommunicado about this. They hadn't gone on the cafe. They hadn't spoken about it at all. And I went on the cafe, and I said, look, if your product is defective, if you're not happy with how Crystallize looks, then return it to your magic shop and tell them to return it to Murphy's. I'd spoken to Murphy's, and I'd said, the best thing here is if anybody's unhappy with the quality of the product and they've got massive bubbles, because some of them didn't, but if anybody's unhappy with the product and they've got massive bubbles, I think you need to be able to give them a refund. I think that you need to, I think that needs to be the case. And they were like, yeah, okay. We agree. And so I said on the cafe, anybody who wants a refund, a full refund, send it back to your shop and tell them to send it back to Murphy's, and contact me, and I will pay you the cost of shipping that defective unit back to the shop that you bought it from. So the shop's not going to lose out, because they're not going to have to pay for your shipping. You're not going to lose out. You're not going to pay for the shipping, and then you'll just get your money back. I'm more than happy to do that. And I did that with about 7 or 8 people. 7 or 8 people messaged me and said, hey, here's proof of me sending the parcel back. And I was like, yeah, no problem, boom. So I paid 7 or 8 people. I made that post over and over again on the cafe. I was like, I can't see what else I can do about this. I can't see how else I can help, because it's not my Murphy's account. It's not like I can tell, I can't do anything. It's not like I've had the money. The money has gone into Prop Dog's bank account, not my bank account. I don't see what I can do here. So I was trying to fight fires as best as I can, and just be a person that's there the whole time. And the reason I'm telling you this, and this is where it all kicked off. And I've got the cafe here, and I'm going to read the post. So on May the 5th, 2022, Dave Bonsall posted on the Magic Cafe, and he rarely posts on the Magic Cafe, but he posted on the Magic Cafe. Now, this is way after it had all kicked off, and at this point, people were saying, oh, Craig's a scam artist. And at no point, you go and have a read of that thread if you want to, at no point had I blamed Prop Dog about anything. At no point had I said Prop Dog was at fault at all. I was very careful to not blame Prop Dog, because I didn't want to. I didn't want to do that. I thought, well, me and Prop Dog are in this together. I don't want to blame Prop Dog at all. That's not something I want to do. So I was just dealing with it the best as I can, and I was working with Murphy's, and I was refunding people's postage to send the things back. And then Dave posts, and he says, "Hey folks, Dave here," and I'm going to read this out, but I'm going to pick some bits apart. "Hi folks, Dave here from Prop Dog. This thread has just been brought to my attention. I rarely visit the cafe these days due to the amount of negativity technology and trolling on it, and it looks like this thread is no different, with folks quick to jump on the bandwagon, giving abuse to blame, to thinking they know the details of everything going on, whilst really they know nothing. So allow me to enlighten those who are quick to point a finger. A few years ago, Craig came to me with the idea of what was to become Crystallize and asked if it was doable, to which I immediately said, no, yeah, told you that. You just can't effectively make a solid glass salt shaker. But after a few weeks of thinking about it, I phoned him again and said, you know what, I might just be doable, not by making a solid shaker, but by making a regular shaker solid. Let me try it. Now, I have a prop maker who works here at Prop Dog, who's pretty much one of the UK's top specialists in moulding and casting, so I set her to work on this. Her first words were, this will not be cheap. The reason being that more often than not, you can't just purchase a sample size of clear resin. You have to buy a full pot of it, which costs anywhere from £60 to £150, depending on the type and brand. Now, let me to be clear on this. This is not just a case of buying some stuff, mixing it, and then filling each of them, as we thought it was. There are hundreds of different types of clear resin with very different properties. We tried batch after batch after batch. Most of this stuff had huge shrinkage issues, which meant that when it's set up, it shrunk. Some pulled away from the sides, some just dipped really badly in the middle. It couldn't be topped up, as you could clearly see the 2 times it was filled, and it looked awful. Most resins tried, somehow reacted with the glass and produced bubbles, or crumpled, or had weird blobs in the middle. A lot of them turned yellow or greenish, or had other coloured swirl patterns in them. Some would not even set due to a reaction with the glass. We tried setting them in hot environments, cold environments, room temperature. We tried setting them in vacuum chambers and in pressure chambers. We tried on and off for over a year and spent thousands and thousands of pounds on chemicals and much, much more on staff wages and consultations, but we were determined to make this work. Eventually, we stumbled on a type of softer resin that was used to make fake glass products for the movie industry. The type where you'd see an action hero rolling around in a broken window. Think Die Hard. This stuff worked great. No shrinkage, completely clear, hard enough to make the sellers look and feel solid. They looked amazing. So I made a batch of 300. Great. Now we had that, we could go to work on the rest of Crystallize. So we did that, which was all fairly straightforward. It was too expensive to make solid shaker lids. That would have put the price way too high for the customers, so we filled the lids with metal discs to get the weight and used a metal resin which did the job. Craig wanted some balls made for it, so we made some salt balls, and they look great as well. We had always planned on doing a big release at Blackpool, where Craig was going to perform it in a lecture or show and dem it on the stand. It should have been a sellout, and hoping we'd sell loads more off the back of it. We finally got the trailer and artwork for Craig the day before Blackpool. It wasn't the day before Blackpool, it was about a week before Blackpool. Yeah, it was about a week before Blackpool. We finally got the artwork and trailer from Craig the day before Blackpool. We rushed to get it ready. It had all been about 3 months since we'd finished the shakers, but when we put it all together, I noticed that the last 3 months, some bubbles had somehow appeared in the resin of about a third of the shakers. It must have been a slow reaction to the glass over time. So I phoned Craig and explained this. Actually, he didn't. He told me about this when I went into his workshop. And that was way before Blackpool. That was like way before that. I was alerted to the bubbles way before Blackpool, because I went down into his warehouse and he opened them up and showed me some of the bubbles. He did not phone me the day before Blackpool. I was aware of these bubbles way before Blackpool when I went into his workshop. There was other magicians there at the time, including Nemid Phoenix. It must have been okay. So I phoned Craig, explained this, and said we shouldn't really release it like this. He never said at any point we shouldn't really release it like this. He never ever said that. But I'd not really seen the routine yet, and Craig was adamant that it was no problem whatsoever. Right, okay, let's address this one. So first of all, for Dave to say that he'd never seen the routine is ridiculous. I have got magicians that I could call on that saw me perform it months before Blackpool while I was in the shop. I went and did a live for them. I did a magic live at the shop once, where all of the staff were wearing tattoos and pretending they were me. That day, I was demming Crystallize, because that's when I had the prototypes. He'd made the prototypes and given them to me, and I brought them into the shop, and he'd sent them to me and I brought them into the shop. I'd shown it to Dave, I'd shown it to Alex Kirk, I'd shown it to multiple customers over and over again. Even before that point, I'd explained the routine in great detail, but Dave was there and watched the routine multiple times. So to say that he didn't really know what the routine was is just not true in any way, shape or form. He knew exactly what the routine was. I demmed it numerous times in the shop on more than one occasion. And to say that, where are we? We're here. And he explained that we shouldn't really release this. He never said that. What he did, and this wasn't the day before Blackpool either, this was not the day before Blackpool, when he showed me the bubbles was when I went into the warehouse weeks before. And I was in the warehouse, and Kieran, who worked there at the time, was there in the warehouse at the same time as he showed me them and said there's bubbles in there, and there's these bubbles. And yeah, I did say it wouldn't be an issue because at that point, the bubbles weren't that pronounced. And if you've seen the tutorial to Crystallize, then you will know that that I even comment on it on there. And the extra video I did for Murphy's, the bubbles aren't really an issue because the fact you're not pretending that it's turned solid glass. The routine is, how were you able to do all of this when the shaker has been solid the whole time? If anything, the bubbles kind of add to a little bit. The tiny little bubbles at the bottom kind of add to it because of, you know, how did I not see those? Because you don't see them, and then when they look at it and they pick it up. So he never said we shouldn't release it like this at all. He'd never said that. And the other thing is, you know, if you're saying that he only got the trailer the day before Blackpool, I didn't arrange to have that trailer playing in the reception at Blackpool. Anybody who went to Blackpool last year, you walk into reception, you walk into registration, that trailer is playing over and over again. I didn't organise that. I didn't even know that was going to happen. People, before I'd even gone in, people were telling me, oh, I've seen your face. And I was like, what are you talking about? You're telling me that he organised that the day before Blackpool? You're telling me that that trailer, I sent it to him according to his post the day before Blackpool, and in one day he'd arranged to have that trailer put up on the Blackpool thing? No, he had that trailer way before then. Way before then, yeah. Not as early as I wanted him to have it because of Lloyd's dog dying and me wanting to do an actual really good trailer, but it went up there way before the day before. And also, him saying, where did he say it? We shouldn't really release it like this. If he genuinely believed that we shouldn't really release it like this, if he genuinely believed that, then why is he promoting Crystallize? Why is he promoting it? So I'm turning this down. Why is he promoting it on the Blackpool screen? If he doesn't believe in this as a product, if he thinks this is so flawed that there is absolutely no way that Prop Dog would release it and it shouldn't be put out there. And also, by the way, that's his decision, not my decision, because like I said, when I work with a production company, I do my thing, they do their thing. That is their thing. Quality control is their thing. I've had, when I released Gossip, there was a printing error, and Alakazam, and Pete Nardi said to me, oh my God, there's a printing error. We're going to pull them all and we're going to have them reprinted and sent out for free. That's not a me decision. That's a them decision. That's the company that's putting it out there, not me. But even if it's not, if he didn't believe that it should go out there, why is it front and centre on the stand at Blackpool? If he didn't, it's his stand, it's his company, it's his reputation. If he didn't believe that he should put it out, just say, well, we're not doing it. We're not going to put it on the stand. Or even if you are going to put it on the stand because you've sunk so much money into it, why are you paying to have an advert in the reception and the registration when people walk in? Whatever. But Craig was adamant that it was no problem whatsoever. Yeah, when I saw it a few weeks beforehand. He said the bubbles didn't matter and would not affect the trick in the slightest. He said that his early practice versions had a few bubbles, the one in the trailer had a few bubbles, and it was fine. So I went ahead packing and took it to Blackpool. They were all packed up when I went there. When I went and saw them a few weeks before Blackpool, they were all packed up in boxes. And all the packing had been done. All he had to do was add a label onto the box. They were already in boxes. There was nothing to pack. Again, ask Kieran, he was there. He even told me that he'd packed a lot of them. They were all packed. They weren't packing them. It's not like the narrative that Dave is trying to put across here is the day before Blackpool, he got all the assets and then he started packing the boxes. No, they were all packed weeks before. All he had to do was add a sticker to the boxes. That's all he had to do. Craig did dem on the stand, but only a couple of times and for very short periods as he was just so busy and tired due to his immense workload there. We sold a few, but not many, as none of us on the stand knew the routine and so could not dem it. Really? Really? You didn't know you had the tutorial a couple of weeks, if not more, before the thing. You're thinking you're going to Blackpool. You knew I wasn't going to be on there the whole time. You've got somebody like Alex Kirk there, who's an incredible sleight of hand magician. You didn't show him the tutorial and say, hey, can you have a look at this so we can have some product knowledge when Craig's not on the stand? That's just mismanagement. The big letdown was, unfortunately, Craig did not get to perform it in either his lecture or show. I didn't have a show. I wasn't doing a show. I did a lecture, and I didn't do it in the lecture. And the reason I didn't do it in the lecture is because when I went to the lecture, the pack that I had to use, that they gave me, wouldn't clip onto my belt and had to go into my back pocket. In order for the routine to be done the way I do it, I need the final load in the back pocket. I didn't want to, 10 minutes before the lecture, change where everything went into my pockets. Anybody who knows that when you're going into a live performance environment like a lecture at Blackpool, which is stressful enough as it is, you don't want to do something that you've never done before. So I made the decision to not dem it because I was told that I had to have the pack in my back pocket and I didn't want to change things around 10 minutes beforehand, hoping that it would work in a way that I'd never done it before. But you're right, I never did it in my lecture. This was going to be what sold Crystallize. Really? So everybody who's ever bought out a new product at Blackpool, the only way that you can make that product successful is by having a lecture there at the same time. We better tell everybody who's at Blackpool in 2023 not to bother taking any new stuff if they haven't got a lecture then. That's just a ridiculous statement. That's what's going to sell Crystallize. Then why did you pay for an advert running the entire length of the convention in registration? Why did you do that? If that was what was going to sell Crystallize, surely that was a waste of your money. We went home from Blackpool only having sold about 10. Not the few hundred as expected, but not to worry, we'd sell them in the shop over the next year. Now, with regards to price, I asked Craig what the price you think you should sell them at, and he said, that's up to you. We'll go halves with the profit. I didn't say you go halves with the profit. That was his thing. That was his deal. Like with Penguin, I'm on a royalty payment. Like with Alakazam, I'm on a buyout. You know, the company I work with dictates the deal. The deal is, that was the deal that he gave me. That was the deal. But I didn't say go halves on the profit. That was him. He said, I did say that's up to you because that's his thing. That's not my thing. The downside was we need to make back thousands of pounds it took to develop, and this would most likely be the only batch we ever made. So the only way to do this was to charge £150, £125 plus the 25 we'd have to pay on VAT per unit. Craig said, no problem. Yeah, I did, because again, it's his thing. So we were going to put it on the website for that. Customers outside the UK would have only paid £125, not the extra £25 in tax. That was when Craig phoned me and asked if we could sell it through Murphy's as a favour. That's true. I said no way, as we'd not make any profit due to the wholesale costs. But Craig said he really didn't want to take a penny from it. He just wanted the routine out there, and they were willing to take the lot off me, meaning we'd make back what we put into it and a little bit of profit on top. So I agreed and sent the lot to Murphy's. Yeah, no difference. The next thing I know is that Murphy's are taking $60 from my account, time after time after time, day after day. It turns out that every time someone complained about a bubble, even though the instructions clearly cover the bubble issue, Murphy's would refund them $60 and take it from my account and let the purchaser keep the product. I don't know that they were doing that, Dave. I'm really not sure that they were doing that. I mean, I definitely gave money out to people who returned it to the shop. But you know, whatever. And the thing is, I again, without being funny, that's nothing to do with me. It's not my Murphy's account. And also, look at the pictures in the thread that I'm talking about here on the Magic Cafe. The bubble issue became way bigger than what you showed me. The bubbles weren't tiny. They were pretty damn big at this point. Some of them were, not all of them. even though it worked fine. They even put a disclaimer on the product description saying there may be a bubble in it, but for some reason they took it off. Well, I sent them a video which they added into the instructions, so they were definitely being proactive with the bubble issue at that point. But again, I don't have anything to do with Murphy's. Once I learned of all the complaints, and to stop the continuous stream of thousands of dollars coming out of our account, I asked Murphy's to discontinue it and send all the units back to me, where I would fix the bubble issue. But they wanted to keep it and keep selling it, and they said they'd deal with the issue if a customer had a bubble in their unit. Again, nothing to do with me. I had offered to pay anybody who wanted to return it. My attitude is if people aren't happy, they should be able to return it. And if they are returning it because the bubbles are massive, that's the fault of the people that made it. The bottom line is the bubble issue, when I looked at it, wasn't that big. Some of the pictures on here are massive. So now we have not made the profit back from this, and we'll have ended up at a loss. And now have you guys all calling us scammers and profiteers. Personally, I don't think we deserve it. If it was our own product, we would never have released it knowing some of the units had bubbles. This is the bit that I take exception to. If it was our own product, we would never have released it knowing that some of the units had bubbles. Now that is the bit that I take exception to. And the reason I take exception to it is because he is implying that this is not a prop dog. This is not a prop dog product. He's implying that this is a Craig Petty product. And that is simply not true. Now, this is a Craig Petty product in that my name is attached to it. I created the routine. In fact, I go into above and beyond with this product. I created the routine. I organized the trailer, the tutorial, the logo for the product. But I didn't make it. I didn't have anything to do with the manufacturing of this product. And who put it in Murphy's? I don't have a Murphy's account. So who put it in Murphy's? He put it in Murphy's. He sold it. He's the one that organised a big advert on the screen as people walk in. This is a prop dog product. When I go and work with Alakazam and I bring out a trick like the Mirage coin set, it's got Alakazam magic all over it. When I did Chop, it's got Penguin all over it. When I did the Quantum deck, it's got Murphy's all over it. When I did Visible, it's got 1914 all over it. It's not. It's saying if it was a prop dog product, we wouldn't have released it with those bubbles is just bullshit. Because frankly, he had the option as to whether to release it or not. I said the bubbles are fine. When I saw it a few weeks before Blackpool, I said the bubbles, when they were already packed in boxes, I said the bubbles were fine. And I meant it. But if he wasn't happy with my appraisal, he could have very simply not done it. He could have held it back. He could have held it back. He's the one that said earlier in this thread, we'd lost thousands of pounds on this already in research and development. So we had to charge £150 to make it financially viable. If that's the case, he's going to want to release it at some point because he's going to want to make that money back. He even said at the end of it, I wanted Murphy's to send me the shakers back and I would fix the bubble issue. So he's obviously thinking he can fix the bubble issue because he wanted Murphy's to send it back. It's not a Craig Petty product. It is a Craig Petty creation. Now, if I had released this myself, if I had done the research and development myself, yes, then this would have been a Craig Petty product. But it is a prop dog product. I cannot believe, this is the thing that I take exception to, him saying this is not a prop dog product. If it was a prop dog product, we wouldn't have released it with those bubbles. I'm sorry, I can't make that clear enough. It is a prop dog product. They created the shakers. They did the research and development. They packed it. They distributed it. They sent it through their account to Murphy's. They had it on their booth at Blackpool. They paid for the advert that went out for 3 days. And again, that advert, he didn't have to put that advert up there. I didn't tell him to put the advert up. I didn't even know that that was going to go up. The fact that that was there speaks volumes of what Prop Dog think about Crystallize. Because they can turn around and say, it wasn't a Prop Dog product, I wouldn't have released it with those bubbles, but they paid for the advert. They paid for the advert with the Prop Dog logo on it. Available at the Prop Dog stand. If they didn't believe in it, if they didn't want to release it, if they genuinely didn't want to release it, why did they do that? Why did they do that? Now, as I say, I haven't got an issue with Dave at all. I wasn't even going to bring this up. He posted this in May last year. I have remained silent until now. Even though, let's go back onto this thread very quickly, even though, let's go on to, there we go, even though after posting that, I had messages on Facebook, I had messages on YouTube. Go check out some of the stuff on Crystallize on YouTube and look at what people are saying on me and saying about me. As for Craig's role, sue him. He deserves to pay for his mistakes on this one. Craig is a scam artist. Craig is terrible. Craig is the worst person. Some things never change. I'm seeing all of this over and over again. Now, Mad Jake, who's on the Magic Cafe, he runs Airship Magic. And Mad Jake comments on that thing as to, as his role, sue him maybe. Now, he's a person who's also a prop maker and a producer. He says that's the most, he posts afterwards and says, that's the most ludicrous thing I've ever heard. Sue Craig for coming up with an idea. That's not how it works. Responsibility falls on the manufacturer and the dealer. First, you'd have to sue the dealer, and in turn, the dealer would have to sue the manufacturer or the supplier. In this case, Murphy's Magic. Murphy's would then have to sue Prop Dog, who would then have to sue the manufacturer. It's a legal pecking order, and what's your basis for a lawsuit? Bubbles. As for the bubbles not being there before shipping, that's BS, and it is. They were there. They showed me weeks before. We cast resins, acrylics, and even do foundry work here. Those bubbles were there when they shipped out the product. It was mentioned earlier in the thread that the shakers should have been filled and put in a pressure chamber to force out the air. That is the proper way to do it. Even a vacuum chamber would have worked. They cut corners, plain and simple. If it's a pressure chamber, if it's a resin in the shakers, then everything comes out in play. Ambient temperatures of the room to humidity. But again, a pressure chamber would have fixed that. Did they think the bubbles would just go away? Craig had a great idea, but the manufacturer who brought it to life dropped the ball in a very big way. And with Murphy's being Murphy's, they didn't check their inventory when it came in, so they're equally to blame. I have a set and I love it, no air bubbles. Salt does wear off, but I expected that to happen. A little spray of tack and some fresh salt and it's as good as new. Great effect, Craig, thank you. And that's from a producer. But there's so many people who are attacking me. Craig approached them and requested they make something for him to release. They didn't even know the routine, but made some props as per Craig's request. Prop Dog were not happy with the quality, but Craig decided they were okay for the routine. It was Craig's call to sell them, despite knowing about the bubbles. As Bonsall said, it was his product, he wouldn't have released it. But Craig Petty made a different decision. That is absolute, complete and total fucking bullshit. I am not going to sit here. I am not going to sit here and have that absolute, complete and total shit thrown at me. It was my choice. What was my choice? Yeah, I suggested that they put it in Murphy's. I organised the deal with Murphy's so that people could have it all around the world and Bonsall could get rid of the stock so he'd make some profit. But it was his decision to put them into Murphy's. It was his decision to release it. It's just ridiculous. People saying stuff that absolutely makes no sense. And the problem is, Dave makes his one little statement, and then once he's made his one little statement, people jump on the cafe going, oh, Craig should be sued. It's Craig's mistake. It's just like back in 2000 and God knows when it was, when I left the Magic community because everybody came down with me on a ton of bricks. The difference is I took it with red because I was to blame. I am absolutely not to blame at this one. I came up with a really killer fucking routine, a really great routine, a routine that I think is exceptional, that I do all of the time. You see the live performances, because just like all of my products, it's got live performances. I went through all of that. I put live performances. I came up with a great idea. I went to somebody who I thought could make these, and they made them incorrectly. They made them badly. They then chose to advertise them, even though they're saying that it's not a product that they made, which it is. This is how the magic industry works. You make a deal with a production company. You don't make as much as the creator, as the production company, because they've got to put in all the risks. In this case, I knew what the deal was. It was 50-50 on the profit. That was the deal. And I was absolutely fine with that. As it happens, I've not made a penny. I've made a loss because I've refunded people their shipping costs. And I have continued to do that. As I said at the very beginning of this video, I wanted to clear the air because recently there's a worst trick of 2022 gone up and a ton of people have put Crystallize. And off the back of that, I think there's people that didn't realise about this before and the whole thing has bubbled over again, pardon the pun. And now I've got people saying that I should be sued again. I've got people throwing me under the bus again. I've just had an email saying I'm a scummy, scammy bastard because I've scammed the magic community with Crystallize. I had a good idea for a trick. I didn't drop the ball. The ball was dropped in the manufacturing process. Yes, I greenlit it because I didn't think it was a problem. It turned out it was a bigger problem than I thought it was. But even when I realized that, I organized a way for people to get their money back out my own pocket. Now, as I say, some people haven't got an issue. I know several people that are performing with this all the time. Nemid Phoenix has got a set of these and they're perfect. I don't think bubbles have appeared in every single one, but the ones that have, and it looks like it's like at least 50% of them, they're the ones that have been affected. And you know, I encourage people, if you're not happy, just send it back and I will pay your shipping. I don't know what else I can do about that. It wasn't put out under my name. Now, I said at the very beginning of the video that I respect Dave Bonsall, and I do. I respect Dave Bonsall. I felt I needed to make this video. And the reason I felt I needed to make this video is because that statement is full of lies and inaccuracies. And I don't think he's lied on purpose, but I think that the timeline has been massively skewed. And to say that he wouldn't have released it if it was a Prop Dog product, I don't understand where that's coming from. I don't want to say that Dave Bonsall's a liar because as far as I'm concerned, he's straight as an arrow, but I don't know where he gets that from. I don't know where he gets that from. Now I've got people attacking me again, and I chose not to talk about this at the time. I chose not to communicate with anybody about this. Even though I was posting on the Magic Cafe, at no point did I reply to Dave's post. At no point did I reply to Dave's post. At all. At all. I didn't reply to it. I didn't say anything to it. I didn't make a video on it. I didn't do anything. But it's now almost a year later and I've still got people coming down on me like a ton of bricks. So now it's time for me to put the record straight. But here's the thing. Dave has made a statement saying this is not a Prop Dog product. It's a Craig Petty product. If that's the case, if this is a Craig Petty product, here is what I'm going to do about this moving forward. If it's my product and therefore I own the full intellectual property on this, then what I'm going to do next week is I'm going to release the full tutorial on YouTube for Crystallize for anybody to watch. And I give anybody watching this video my full permission to produce and manufacture this in any way that you want. If you're a magic production company, if you are Airship Magic, or whoever the hell you want to be, I don't care. Anybody watching this that produces magic, or anybody watching this that wants to go to a magic producer, I give you my permission to make these up. And you can go download the tutorial and put the tutorial with it as far as I'm concerned, because I am not in the magic production business to make money. I am not in the magic production business to make a killing. That's not why I'm here. I'm here to have fun. I'm here to make friends. I'm here to release tricks that I think people will enjoy to perform. That's what I'm here to do. And I think that if people had a Crystallize that they were happy with and worked and there were no bubbles, it's a beautiful routine to perform. If I was entering a close-up competition again, and that ship sailed, you know, that period of my life is gone. But if I was entering a close-up competition in the future, I would definitely do Crystallize because it is so different and so unique to anything out there. So, Airship Magic, whoever, whatever, any production company, you have my full permission to manufacture this and sell it. And you have my permission to take the tutorial, which is going on YouTube next week, and do what you want with it. Anybody who's watching this, go and contact a company. Go and contact anybody that you think you can make this. I give you my permission to have it made up, and I give you permission to do my routine. It's not about making money. And you know what? As far as I'm concerned, if that's the way Prop Dog want to be, and they want to tell me that I've screwed the customers over, because that's what they're saying. To be clear, they're saying if it was Prop Dog, we wouldn't have released it, and it was Craig Petty's call. If that's the case, then they're saying that it's my intention to screw over customers, even though out of all of us, I'm the one that's made no money out of this. No money at all. Absolutely no money. I don't know how many $60 that Dave's taken from his account, but I do know how much Murphys were prepared to pay and how many units they took. And I know how much little profit he took of putting those units into Murphys on top of the ones that he sold at Blackpool. Even if he only sold 10 of them, that's £1,500. I'm pretty sure he's still in the profit. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. We haven't communicated about this. Just like Dave did not communicate with me when he put that post on Cafe, throwing me under the bus, and I didn't reply to him. I haven't communicated to Dave about this. I just wanted to put my 2 pence worth out there. And my 2 pence worth is this product was never released to make money. This product was never released for any other reason other because I wanted this routine out there because I thought that people would like it. So the trailer, the tutorial is going to go live on YouTube. You can watch it, you can learn it. And if you're a magic production company, you have my blessing to produce this and manufacture it. That's all I've got to say about that.